One.
Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July, that's a good question, 14th, I think, which might give you an idea how my day's been. Nope, July 15th, at approximately 4:30 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I use to guide virtually every move I make. Now, with this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, I will tell you, there's a few things we're going to be dealing with reticulans today. Okay, still on the idea of multiracial species. I just looked for my eyeballs. So let's just see what we got going on here. Okay, now, to start with, understand we are looking at a multiracial species. Joe, you are here. How you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, most people refer into this group as the Greys. Okay, I refer to them as the Reticulans. Now, the most common of the Reticulans that most people get. Actually, I should do this as they come in. Joe, you are in with the gold. Ellie Moon, how you doing? I understand that new little kitty of yours is relaxing quietly now. Or at least a little more at peace with itself. Like I said, I always encourage people, if you're going to go and rescue a pup from the shelter, if you've got it in you, definitely, the little pups are certainly cute and will go in a heartbeat when it comes to, when it comes to a child looking for a new pet. As we all know, the little ones are a lot cuter in many cases. But the older ones, they're quite often on their last legs, primarily because people just don't adopt them. And I know that's got nothing to do with the Greys. Although I will tell you, the Greys have their own kids, and their own pets as well. But a couple of major things I do want to deal with. So many people are out there still posting that they deal with off-worlders all the time. Okay. And I'll tell you from everything I've discovered while I've been dealing with them. Now, I'm not the only person that has interactions. Sam, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, when we are dealing with the Greys, with the Reticulans, the most common ones that people run into are the Zetas. Okay, now the Zeta Reticulans are your scientists. They're the ones that perform most of the abductions. 3 feet tall, maybe 3.5, really, really big eyes. Couple of things to deal with, couple of things to keep in mind. Very important factors. Number one, these guys are very much, are very much into the science side of it. Okay, but because they are a fragile race, as it were, especially considering compared to humans, they quite often will bring Destiny with them. The people you turn around. I love people with an IQ. I just wish I knew more. especially they bring the Gaddafi around because the Gaddafi as Nords. Now, we will get to the Nords later, okay, or more to the point, to the Gaddafi later. The Reticulans, on the other hand, these guys, the massive majority, are strictly scientists. They are there for the science. They're not there to repair people. They're not there to sell information. They are there to simply study. Okay, that's how they came about almost perfecting the hybridization program. And besides that, the reason I say almost perfecting is because were it perfected, thank you very much, Storm. Were it perfected, then you wouldn't require memory screens to deal with it. And that's the part they're still working on. Nathan, how are we doing? Glad you could join us. I do trust everything is going well. There we go. Lifting from work, it's slow. Now, that does not look healthy. Storm, if you're still in the area, there's a thing that was popped up in the chat here, and it says Storm 2012 was banned, and the comments removed. Now that could mean we've got a problem. Somebody care to give me a little bit of feedback on that? Okay. Thanks, LA. Yeah, things like that, when they get popped out like that, do create a bit of a disturbance. Now, I was told at one point that if you're not getting complications, that that you're not doing things right. But okay, I can't wait to see what happens on this. For those of you that are still with us, Nathan's quantum show on Saturdays, absolutely drop in, give him a listen. He's got some great ideas he talks about. You listen to him. If you like what he has to say, give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. And I know Storm's going to get back to us and let us know when he gets that mess sorted out. But until that point, let's hope things are still running. With the Reticulans, now they have multiple different species, and really there are multiple different races. My apologies. When you're dealing with humans have different likes, different talents. For instance, if you've got a human that is very geared towards agriculture, for instance, you cannot tell by looking at a human where their primary gear is. When you're looking at Reticulans, if you look at one that's got an almost squared off head, it'll be almost squared off, and one that looks like that. Oh, I'll deal with that in just a moment there, Nathan. When you look at a Reticulan, where did my list go? Right here. When you look at a Reticulan that is geared towards agriculture, number one, those are Reticulans. They are agricultural bent. In other words, they're the ones that deal with the food supply. Oh, not a problem there, Nathan. The interruption actually came from a gentleman that has been removed. But I'm just waiting to see if Storm comes back into play here, because there was a comment earlier, just a little bit ago there, that Storm 2012 was banned and their comments removed. Now, that being said, I don't see him in the house now. And my problem is I don't remember in LA. You can probably fill me in on this one. Is Storm actually Storm 2012, or does Storm have a different number? That'd be appreciated. Oh.
Hey Keith, all this does is prevent me from posting something in chat right now, so
Right.
I can still monitor through YouTube, and I'm still inside here. I'll work with the rest of it later.
Okay. I appreciate that, Storm.
Yeah. So it's not a problem. It's just something I got to fix later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's one of those people. That Jackanini is one of those people. They just don't even bother giving a second chance.
Yep. Well, we've given him warnings before, so
yeah.
Now he's never coming back.
Well, this is good. I mean, I hate locking people out, but on the other hand, they're too much of a pain in the neck.
Well, he can listen all he wants to. He just can't post in chat.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he'll learn something. All right.
Nice. But
back to you.
With humans, when you're looking at them, if they've got a particular bend towards something, like for instance, like I said, agriculture, you can look at them. You won't know if the person's strength is agriculture, hospitality, science. You won't be able to tell that by just looking at a human. When you're looking at the reticulans, their cranial skeletal system changes. You know, what do we got here? Yeah, so with the rate of reticulans, you're looking at people that are bent toward, they've got a talent in agriculture. They're the ones that deal with the food supply. And before people jump on that, we're going to eliminate a couple of things that are massive misconceptions. And, I see this all over the net. Now, here's the thing. Okay, way too often, I have run into it where I'll see something one way and nobody will agree with it. And, as it was put to me, stand your ground on. If you know that's the way it is, even if nobody else does, do not compromise just to fit in. I've done that for way too long. Okay. The first thing we got to realize about the reticulans to start with is they do not, they are not a photocopy. They are not a dying race. Okay. They're no more dying than this planet is dying. Okay. But when you take a look at them, reticulans have a very definitive understanding of agriculture. A couple other things you'll find with them. And by the way, this information, like I said, that's my clipboard, obviously. Like I mentioned, when I'm talking about things, quite often new information will come to light while I'm discussing them. And again, if you have questions, absolutely ask, even if it's not in the same field, in the same topic that we're discussing at this point. Unfortunately, when we're looking at that, so many people have told me, oh, the Greys are dying, they're dying out, they are stealing humans, they're kidnapping humans to build a new racial body for themselves. This could not be much further from the truth. Okay, not from anything I've seen. Okay, I will tell you, more often than not, if you've got a Zeta Reticulan that's picked up an individual that has absolutely abducted one, more often than not, they will have a Gedefni in the house. And the reason for that, the Gedefni are what you call Nords. Okay, but they are stronger men, they are more powerfully built, and therefore able to deal with humans. Okay, we'll get to the Gedefni on another day. But a couple of the other ones you've got now, of course, with the rate of Reticulans, okay, you'll find their fingers are actually a lot longer than the Zetas. Okay, but the rate of Reticulans, they utilize their fingers for probing the earth. For punching holes when they're working on planting and that sort of thing. Now we scroll down here. Oh, well, thank you for the origin of that. I appreciate that, Nathan. Nathan from the Quantum Show is just letting us know the dying race of Greys is straight from a few sci-fi shows, but popular plotline. Stargate SG-1 is one of them. I get a kick out of it because I've watched Stargate SG-1. And they didn't do bad on the approach and definitely not on the tech level. Although the reality of it is what you saw and what you see in Stargate 1 are not Zetas. Okay. Those ones that you're seeing, let me just take a look here. Those are your data reticulum. Okay, they are the tech builders. And as you can see, they're a little bit less, shall we say, less fleshed out. Okay, but they are very much the technological brains. With the Raiders, they're the ones that deal with the plant life. They're the ones that deal with making sure the basic foodstuffs. Because you got to remember, Reticulans are still, now I'm going to call them carnivorous. What it is that they actually have a primary diet of fish and insect. Primarily because it won't fit in their mouth if it's too big. Now, where is it? Just looking for. Oh, there we are. Would be nice if I could read my own writing. The one race of reticulans you'll run into. Where are we here? Are literally, and I'll put it this way: I can't actually enter it into the chat. Okay, but they're the Zeus clue. The reason and the Zeus clue reticulan, those are your military. Now they have a mouth. They have a mouth that is lined with teeth. They also, by the way, you don't want to tangle with these guys. Most people take a look at reticulans and go, oh, they look so neat, so nice, so calm, etc. When you're looking at the Zeus clue, okay, they are. Now, actually, I should do that. I will have to get back to that one, but they are military. Okay, they are combat. Now, here's the problem with it. Not only do they have a mouth that is wide open, full of teeth, much like the Beirandi, but the Zeus clue also have literally a prehensile tongue. Okay, meaning they will grab you and they will reach out and hold on to you while they beat on you. But what do we got? Nathan goes, I still want shuttlecraft and speeder bike. I thought you were building one of those. Oh, there we go. Nathan goes, yep, sci-fi inspired me. I look past it all and have been finding things stranger, more awesome than anything we can make up. He goes, but I still want a shuttlecraft and a speeder bike. Well, I have no doubt there, Nathan, that you'll be able to build one. The one thing with the speeder bike, shuttlecraft, if we're talking about and one in outer space, that's going to take you a bit. Ah, perfect. Just remember, when you start going to look at the gravity, remember that gravity works backwards. You're dealing with a push, not a pull. Okay, and that's the funny part about it. But when you look at the Zeta Reticulans, the scientists look very peaceful, very nondescript, very non-volatile. A thesis clue will scare the daylights out of you, even in the dark. Okay. By the way, the other neat little thing with the thesis, most of the Reticulans, their eyes are black. Okay, they're big, they're black, little on the reflective side. The thesis have yellow eyes, same size, but they happen to see in the dark, which means they are reflecting in the dark or in the starlight, what have you. Frightening as all get. You also got to remember, whereas, and these are skeletal differences in the different species. Okay, now these are none too subtle. And again, if you've got questions, do me a favor and ask. But shall we keep it to intelligent questions? Remember, I mentioned this often, that there are, the rumor is there's no stupid questions. Rachel, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Well, in case you hadn't noticed, there are some. Okay, we're not going to rehash that by any means. But what we're looking at, let me just mark this down, because I run through some of this information. Like I'm looking at the thesis clue, right? The thesis clue reticulans. They are military. I'm just making small notes because I got to get this stuff moved into the second printing. Where are we here? Now again, you will find they communicate through chirps and clicks. Okay, they are the reticulans are absolutely, the reticulans are absolutely, in my experience, reptilian nature. And Rachel, absolutely happy to see you. And I do believe I already said that, did I not? I did. But definitely not too late. We've only been here. Well, we had a little bit of a hiccup at the beginning, but wasn't mine doing this time. One of the important things we look at. Okay, now we've got those three, and like I said, I haven't found all the notes on them yet. But when you're dealing with the radio reticulans, which are your agricultural ones, okay, they have square skulls, but their fingers are almost twice the length of a standard Zeta. But that's because they're used for probing the ground. Just get this stuff down. This is stuff that as soon as I get done this stream, will be moved directly into the second printing. Now, Oh, there we are. Then we have the other people. And these guys, yes, they've still got the classic big black eyes. Okay. But when you see, if you ever, and not many of you will have seen these, but if you take a look at Zentauran, the Zentauran Reticulan they are literally your spiritual guides. These are what humans would call the priests. Okay. And they have the traditional two big black eyes, but they've got a third divot that sits right here. It's actually a functioning eye, but it is geared towards literally seeing energy. You'll also find the other neat little thing with the Zentauran. If you take a look at most reticulans, they've got no ears. Like they're built right into the head. With the Zentauran, they've got an external flap. Okay, very small, and it is literally able to be spun. Okay, kind of like a radar, if you will. Looks as weird as heck, but these guys use that to track down heartbeats. That's how they know if somebody is lying. And here's the kicker: the difference between a human lie detector, as in the piece of equipment, okay, it only picks up on the beat. Okay, with these guys' ears, they pick up on the heartbeat, they pick up on the breathing, they even pick up on speech differentiation. In other words, are you thinking about what you're saying? And is there an intent behind the thought? And that right there. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, yes. And of course, when you've got the beta reticulans, okay, beta reticulans are of a much, how do I put this? They are a much sturdier build. Unlike the kind of gangly arms you see on the traditional grays. Okay, what are actually called reticulans. They are traditionally slender legs, slender arm, slender limbs. Okay. My personal opinion, when you look back to that neat little show, E.T. the extraterrestrial, the E.T. that E.T. was a stylized gray. And pretty much had the same attitude. What are we looking at here? Oh, there we are. Yeah, I thought you were planning on putting some of them into a book anyway. Anyway, there, Joe. I will tell you, we are working on a number of things. I was working today on pinning down a few options. One thing that somebody suggested, and I give credit if I could remember who, was somebody suggested. Yeah, I did. I'm gonna hurt myself. Somebody in there suggested that with a few of the races, I build a book this size. Okay, just the size of the self-help books. Yeah, Joe goes, I only wish I could do something special with my dream journals, and journaling, but I don't know exactly what. But for now, a keepsake. Absolutely, Joe. Yeah, hang on to that. Someday down the road, it may come up as something else. But do not make the mistake of doing what I've seen many people do. They get started on a project, and I'm guilty of the same thing. Okay, they get started on a project, and then so many other things come into play. Okay, so I've had to really pare back and take a look at things. When you're looking at things, what I was just saying and got myself sidetracked, it was suggested, absolutely LA. LA is just saying, hey, if it's interesting for you, it's worth it. Meaning, the same goes to all of you people. Or if we want to go some real deep south, all y'all. Don't know why we go there, but a book this size, I will be dealing with one that is very small. Okay, it's one of those books in queue at this point. Okay, where I will be adding and be putting into it more concise information, not more concise information, but more expansive information. And the two books I'm looking at there right now are literally, let's go there. I will be, these are now in queue. Okay, so assuming I don't end up dead, I will get these done. One will be on literally meet the red, and I don't know what I'm going to call it. Okay, but I'm going to take all of the reptilian races that I've got, and as I get them put together, I will put them in their own little book, so that those of you that are going, I want to know about reptilians, we can just go plunk. There's the information, because it's not as black and white as what you're being led to believe. Now, where it comes to the Reticulans on the whole, first of all, they are not trying to replace the human race. Storm goes, just to ignore the man behind the curtain. Yeah, not going to happen there, Storm. But thanks for getting back in. The reality is, when I take a look at the Reticulans, I'm looking at now right off the hop here. Can't see a thing with my glass on. By the way, I do have an appointment to get my eyeballs checked so I can get these things replaced at the end of July. As in 4 days here. We're on Monday now. Friday, come to think of it. But I've got 1, 2. Oh, yes. Datas of the builders and Torin betas. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I've got 7 already. I know there are around 15 I've seen. I just haven't pieced it all together just yet. One thing I do know is these guys are not, number one, gearing up to take over Earth, wipe out humans, take all of that. LA suggests, how about meet the reptilians? Which is not a bad idea. And then I can build, and I like building on group concepts, as it were. So where are we here? Just making a note. But I was in the process today. I got a little tied up with another project I had to work with. But Meet the Reptilians, if I look at that kind of title, it's easy to swap over to Meet the Reticulans and whatever else combination. Because there is so much extra data that can be pulled together for a concise fashion. The one thing that I have found with the Reticulans is this. Okay, number one, very talkative group. Heck of a sense of humor once you get to understand them. And that's saying a lot for given that the Zetas are scientists. Okay. One of the things we have to remember is just because they're different doesn't make them evil. Okay. Now humans, I agree with you there, LA. You know, the one thing that we have to realize here is so many people look at the unknown and all of a sudden go, I'm afraid of it. It's going to kill us. Now, I remember one very well-known scientist. I'm not going to mention names. Okay. There are very few people I actually mention names on, in case you haven't pieced that together. But he came out, and most of what he was saying, I looked at him and went, man, there is a brilliant mind. And then he turned around and goes, all aliens are evil. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Now, I did not hear this in person, and this is why I will not use the person's name. But the fact of the matter is, the Reticulans are working on a very simple project. And if it weren't for the hybridization program, humans themselves would not be able to communicate well with these people. Storm, that's terrible. Storm goes, as long as you spell it meat and not meat as in MEET and not meat, MEAT. Okay, that'd be as bad as going recipes from the great beyond. We're not getting into them. But there's a lot of little booklets that can be dealt with. I am finishing Races of the World in the second edition before I embark on any of these. Okay, that's just the way that's going. Which is what this week is all about. Now we are on, what day are we on anyway? Oh, today's 15th. Okay, so I got 2 weeks left. I'm not that because it doesn't work with a hoot. If I take this, we get 20, so we got, oh, yep, I definitely have to get absolutely focused on that. Nice, Sarah Storm. Yo, LA goes, don't make me get the fly swatter. And Storm goes, good luck reaching the fly swatter. It's on top of the fridge. Well, think of it this way, Storm. You'd rather her get you'd rather her get a hold of the fly swatter than the flipper. We could go down a very confusing stream on this one. But when like I'm looking at the different information I've got, and by talking to you guys and getting an idea of what you're looking for, the questions you've got, it gives me so many more options. You know, I'll just bet you got one with cleats for special occasions there, LA. LA is just confirming she's got a slipper. You know, one thing with the Reticulans, unlike humans, you take a look at the skeletal picture of a reticulan, and you're going to know where their interest is, where their talent is. Now, let us be clear. Reticulans figured out something very important. That is that if you're looking at you've got a gift for being a scientist. Maybe you desire to be an entertainer, but you're not built for it. Okay. Doesn't mean you can't do it, doesn't mean you can't learn. It simply means it may take a little bit more work for you to become good at it as compared to one of the actual musicians. If I have them actually down here. I got a list of different races here of the Reticulan. And my problem is I can't really read my own writing half the time. Oh. But whatever they are pre-geared to, okay, doesn't mean they're locked into it. If you're like on Earth, okay, if you happen to have a natural ability with numbers, maybe you're not that interested in them, okay, and you want to go into golf, you're still able to. Oh, Joe goes, wow, just received a tornado watch on weather app for Michigan. Not necessarily my area yet, which is Ortonville, but it will. But it will until 2 a.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a wild rest of the night. Yeah, just whatever you do, Joe, if you got to bail, don't do like the guy in Kentucky. I was doing a reading for a guy in Kentucky, 20 years ago now, and I hear this absolute horrendous scream, right? I says, what pray tell was that? He goes, oh, don't worry about it. It's a tornado warning. I says, isn't that the sort of thing you're supposed to pay attention to? He goes, yeah, but I got 15 minutes. Let's finish the reading. So I finished the reading, and this guy called a number of times that day. So I get off the phone, and my boss goes, can that guy actually afford these calls? I said, look, even if he wasn't working, he's going to be working before the end of the night. And she goes, well, why? I says, because they just got a tornado warning in his neighborhood while I was on the phone with him. Anybody with a hammer is going to be working tomorrow. But tornado, and again, you'll notice tornadoes, and it's funny, really, in my eyes. Tornadoes don't check to see who you voted for. They don't check to see what your bank account looks like before they turn your house inside out. Okay. But now, not the way. Okay, I'm pulling in blank, and I don't like doing that, especially in this case. Okay. Well, that's volume 2. That is not what I wanted. Well, where are we? Let's get that. I'm just looking for a small piece of information. And I don't find it in a hurry. I'm going to ignore it. Guys, I don't know about you, but you just don't need to see me sitting here going, what the heck is that? And of course, I can't find the one I'm looking for. Which does annoy the heck out of me, by the way. What should be right at the bottom end. Yeah, definitely have to get these a little better organized. Okay, we're trying to remember the actual name. Oh, you idiot. I'm looking for the wrong thing. When you look into that tornado, let us not remember and not forget. Watch the way it works. Sometimes, if you ever watch a tornado, tornadoes, if they're just a tornado, will travel about where it will. If it's a whale-wash, okay. Now, the whale-wash are an elemental. And every now and again, you'll see one. But a whale-wash quite often will miss every building in the place. Okay. And they do it quite deliberately. They want to take a look around, certainly, but they're not trying to kill everybody. But that's another topic for another day. Let's close that back out so I can see what I was working on. Uh-oh. One of the things we got to look at where it comes to the reticulans. is the moment they are conceived, they are not predestined, but what is the word? They are already predisposed to a set of skills. Okay. And this is why when they're born, initially they're separated off and put into the school that best suits their their disposition. But they get to the end, they get to be about 5, maybe 6 years old. Okay. And 5, maybe 6 cycles old. If they have shown an interest in something else, they are not locked into, oh, you were born a reticulum. You have to stay working in that field. No, you were born a reticulum. You have to stay a reticulum. But you can still go and learn the other skills. You can become literally in the reticulan society. And this is something that humans would be well advised to adopt. More often, yeah, those tiny little ones, more often than not, those are Waylash. They don't do any damage by comparison. Sure, they'll turn over a garbage can, but they don't, generally speaking, cause problems. We've had a couple of them here. We've also up in Kelowna here, decades back, we had a tornado that very neatly relocated somebody's mobile home. Okay, the trailer picked it up, flipped it upside down, and dropped it square on top of 1 3 doors down. Tornadoes are not something to play around with. Waylash, dust devils, not such a bad idea, although they will mess up your hair. Now, the reticulans, they are predisposed to a given line of work. They are not locked into it. And usually somewhere between 6 and 12 cycles, they will determine where they desire to go. Now, the funny part about that, we see humans here going, oh, my child is 6 years old. They're allowed to choose what they like. It's a cute thought. Doesn't work that well if the brain is not developed. Okay, works great if you're trying to brainwash somebody. Pick a kid that is that young and tell them what they're best at. That's a great way to get them brainwashed. Reticulans, what they do is they put them into generic training. But yes, they do pair them up with people with like aptitude. Like they'll put all the reticulans in one class. However, classes are set up kind of the way they are on Earth. Okay, where you've got a number of kids and a teacher. But during the common time, during the break time, they are permitted to intermix as much as they'd like. There is no racial segregation. Okay, there's no, oh, you're a reticulan. You can't come over here with us Zetas. You don't have the brain power. The statement they don't have the brain power is not actually accurate. They've got the same brain. It's just not geared to the same concepts. And again, this is one of those signs of an advanced race. They've learned how to take everybody and go, regardless of what you look like, regardless of what your skill is, you're not of a lesser importance than anybody else. It is true that a human with natural dexterity is better suited. Absolutely, LA. With the reticulans, there is no doubt that a reticulan born Reta is more likely to be successful in agriculture than they are in the military. But the kicker is this: many times, and they've got the same problem humans have. If it comes too easy, they get lazy. Some of the most remarkable agricultural scientists are not rated reticulans. Okay, they are literally, and I haven't looked into seeing where they're holding up right now. Okay, but where are we here? It's funny watching a well, good memory, watching the Zeiss fluke. Okay, when you take a look at one of them, it's really fun taking a look at these. Well, can we try English? Zeiss fluke. Take a look at one of them, okay, and watch them become an agriculturalist. Okay, these are the guys that will, and they look, their head in some ways looks like a merge between a zeta reticulan, okay, great big eyes, and a Birondi with that great big lower half of the jaw being wide open and full of teeth. The neat part about the Zeiss fluke is they have a tongue that is literally prehensile. Okay, it will reach out, and while he is looking at you, he will get a hold of your throat. And of course, because of the fact that it is designed for holding on, it is sticky. Okay, which means it gets a hold of your throat, you're in trouble. Yeah, Joe just bringing this up. He goes, I do remember back in 2021, Saturday night, few tornado warnings for my area when I used to go to church with Dad. Well, our church in Armada got hit. No church for a while. Yeah, that'll do it. I've seen tornadoes hit. I had one going when I was just in kindergarten. So we're talking 50 years back. I got picked up by a tornado. And, the fact of the matter is, in all fairness, I call it a tornado, or I always have. But looking back on it, we were looking at a whale-wash. Because tornadoes don't just push you up against the telephone pole and hold you there and let you work your way down. A tornado will slap you up against the telephone pole, probably break half the bones in your body, and then fire you off somewhere down the road. The fact is, when I was 6 years old, I didn't know what a whale-wash was. Okay, that was before I really started to piece it together. So, I guess technically I wasn't picked up by a tornado. Okay, technically it turns out I was simply picked up by a whale-wash and taken out of harm's way of the tornado. Okay, always nice having friends in the right places. But the thing we have to remember, and absolutely I'm encouraging you to take a page out of the Reticulan books, okay, regardless of somebody's predisposition. Understand, everybody has the ability, in the Reticulan society, everybody can pick and choose what profession they choose to go to. It's just, if they are not of that particular race, they'll likely have to work a little harder, which has the other side effect of potentially making them that much better and that much more attentive to detail. I have seen things go through. Like I've watched tornadoes rip through areas. You want to see something that is absolutely murderous. When you go to the Sradazian homeworld, okay, you're looking at storms that are something fierce, where the sandstorms will literally. Actually, there's a neat little race there. Let's see what I got. Look. Oh. I will have to come back to that. Where is... That's not what I want. There we are. On the Srazazzian homeworld, there is something called the Zartella. Now, the Zartan are, and these are in book 2, by the way, they are sandarts. They're what strip the bones off of the body and the flesh off of anything caught in a sandstorm. You don't want these guys on Earth. Okay? But because don't forget, they're high density. When we're looking at the different species, now this is something that's come to mind while I was piecing this all together. I know of a couple of planets that we get a number of different species from. Okay, understand, and I guess I should cover that, shouldn't I? Understand that the Reticulans have their own. Where are we? You know, the Reticulans have their own ship, their own ships, and those are your traditional saucers. Okay, you see the normal saucers, they look like 2 pie plates put together and away you go. Those are the Reticulan ships. Those are the ones that they use for abductions. They usually contain, the ship isn't that big, but they usually contain between 3 and 5 Reticulans, all the lab gear they require for taking samples, and usually 2, possibly 3 of the Gaddafi. Okay, now it can be very disconcerting inside their ships because they seem to be much larger inside than the outside dimension would indicate. That has to do with the way they're built. By the way, I am working on trying to figure out how to articulate it. They're not the ones that built it, but there is a technology that literally, as you enter the room, condenses safely the molecular configuration. Okay, this is how they can take for instance, they can take no, they can't. I was going to say they can take an Anunnaki inside a gray ship, not inside a standard one. There's a limit to what can be done. But when you look into Reticulans, they bring them and they tend to deal with it. The Zeta Reticulans tend to deal with choices of career as a right, not an obligation. Okay. In other words, a child is told you can certainly choose what profession you'd like, but you're not being told you have to be this. You were born as Zeta Reticulan, you're going into the sciences. No, you start in the sciences because that is just their nature. Okay, they know this is where the ability is. Therefore, let's do our best to guide them. But understand there's a difference between reticulan education and human education. Humans go, or at least seem to, you must learn this. And by the way, this is more consistent in some areas. I know it's not this way in Canada, where you're not told, regardless of what you'd like to do, this is your job. I think, and I might be mistaken on this, but I do believe that some communist countries are like that, where they say, okay, you are born and you're going to become a scientist. That's all there is to it. Whether you've got an interest or not isn't a relevant concern. The Reticulans look at it and go, you've got the option. That's where your talent is. That's where your natural ability is. So give it a shot. If you like it, go that direction. If you don't, there's lots of other people that are looking to get into those fields. And by the way, when it comes to the higher education of the Reticulans, what they end up doing is going, okay, we've got this much room for this many seats available in this semester. They do not go, okay, I'm teaching agriculture, therefore if you've got a single reticulan that wants in, okay, no matter his aptitude, he gets to have that seed. And even if you've been aiming for it, you're a Zeta Reticulan, and you really desire to get into agriculture. You got through the door, you applied, they said you got it. Reticulan society will not oust the already integrated. Joe, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And yeah, I cannot speak for that. Hopefully you'll get a chance to listen to it later. But I am glad to see you popped in. Now, the neat thing about it, like, I don't think, as far as I know, why don't we do that, guys? How about if I get a sound check out there and see if people can actually hear me? Just to make sure it's not Joe's problem. Well, thank you very much there, Joe. The reality of it from my standpoint is this. The reticulans, they literally go, okay, you applied for university in this field. You got accepted because you applied first, you had the qualifications. Another person that is already geared to that may not get in. Thank you very much, LA. I appreciate that. Like I've said, one of my big concerns here on this stream is to make sure that everybody is taken care of. Okay. Now I know I cannot do it. Storm does a bang up job. And every now and then we get a genius like the one we had earlier. I don't know what it's going to take for the human race to figure out choosing to be disruptive, choosing to be stupid. As in, better. Karmic law is simple. Energy out, energy in. You desire to be treated with respect. Treat the people in this room with respect. I simply look at it going, I don't need to hassle. Because there's way too many things going on. And I got looking at it, I was actually talking to Storm about it. The fact there aren't as many questions coming in. Oh, there we go. Joe goes, I'm cooking jalapeno poppers. I personally don't mind spice. I'm not overly fond of jalapeno anymore. Ouch. Of course, I made the fun job of throwing my back out again today, so that makes it fun trying to get up. But when we look at the reticulan education, all the species, I will be adding more as I come across them. Like I said, I'm going through notes that are like an inch deep. Okay. But they are getting included. And this idea, and I don't even know who came up with the idea of the little books. Okay. Otherwise, I'd give credit. But I am going to get some together as I get enough information put together. Because all I'll be doing is literally taking the information and combining it so we can get more of the stuff together. Okay. So those of you that are interested in reptilians can get a whole bundle. What happened to it? I don't know what happened to it. I think yesterday I counted we've got something like 15 reptilians that I've got documented. Never mind the others. Now, of course, when I'm looking at those two books particularly, if I look at Meet the Reptilians, there will be a small entry into it regarding the reticulans. But the fact is, I've got a staggering amount of information on the reticulans. Renee, glad you can make it. We're starting to think you've gotten sidetracked on us, which, understandably, you've got a life, let's face it. But I really do appreciate seeing you pop in. The important, I take a look at what's going on here. And like I said, this is a microcosm of what's going on out there. Fortunately, this is a microcosm of the positive side of what's going on out there. Every now and again, we run into an interesting little problem. Okay. And that is this. When things are happening, we get sidetracked and things can get complicated. We'll get a problem child in here. Thankfully, you guys are real quick to jump on it. And I mean not just Storm and LA and Nathan. Okay. I've seen people all across this stream jump on it. Now, by the way, we are, as of this morning, this afternoon, just before I came on, we were sitting at 634 subscribers, which I'm not going to complain about. I look at it going, now, what do we do from here? How do we get the message out? And I've got some postings I've got to deal with. Okay. But I had to get absolutely well, think of it this way, Joe. At least you know how to get to your settings, which puts you head and shoulders above me. Hopefully you'll get it worked out. The reality of it is this. I've got a lot of information I'm sitting on. And, when I was talking to Storm, I asked him why we're not getting as many questions. And apparently, I'm doing something functional. Okay. But again, if you've got questions, I got an email from somebody, or more to the point, a comment in YouTube, where somebody said they had a lot of questions, but they're quite often working. Yeah. Joe goes, I graduated from college before the internet. So did I. I didn't graduate from school. I didn't graduate before computers came into play. But my grade 12 year, my grade 10 year, they had 3 computers in the entire school. And that was it. Now, I got my hands on them, and I've been fighting with them for, let's face it, grade 10, you're 14, 15 years old, almost 50 years. And I still can't get them to work right. But, when I take a look at this, the whole system that Reticulans work with, it would be wise to adopt a little of it. In other words, do not railroad an individual into a study. I got a friend of mine. He's been in internet security for decades. He decided he was going after a new career. And I'll tell you, talk about going completely the other direction. The man is going into glass blowing. Storm goes, when I was in college, we had BitNet and AOL was brand new. We had BASIC. Now, of course, I don't know what school you went and what school you grew up in. As far as you go, Storm. I know I grew up in a small town, as in 2,500 people in the town. And the one next door had just the same amount. The neat part about it, years ago, over in England, this one publishing company had a power outage, and they developed a new form, or more to the point, reinstigated an old form of communication. About snail mail. You put a stamp on it, fire it off, and pray. Email. How to text. These guys built or reinstigated was email. Walk and say it. Okay. It's one of those really neat forms of mail that get absolutely where they need to. I actually had the pleasure of learning on one of those. I use the term pleasure a little loosely because I was actually taught on one of the punch card readers. Okay, talk about a lot of work, and boy, if you made a mistake, you were hooked. The neat part about it is, as society, I'm looking at a correlation here. Okay. And it's weird. Humans go, the more technology we have, the less we have to do, the less we have to think, the less we have to put effort in. This is the way that humans seem to be behaving. If you're not inclined to do that, absolutely, hats off to you. Okay. But Reticulans and most of the advanced races, they go, if we can automate something, we can work more on discovering something new. Okay. On discovering a new way of communication, on discovering something else. Yeah, Ellie goes, a mistake with cards was a mishap of apocalyptic proportions. Absolutely. I actually know a guy, he working on one of those machines. He had a stack of papers that was a foot deep, and he had all lined up perfectly. And then somebody knocked them over. And I'll tell you, it ruined the entire project. Because with the cards, you can't just go, oh, I didn't mean to do that, and white it out. You're punching physical holes. But with the Reticulans, they automate a lot of things. But what they do is they go, okay, now we figured out how to do that. Now, let's see how much more nutrition we can pull out of this item. Not genetically engineering it. They found genetic engineering of food destroyed its original use. But what they do, what the Reticulans are currently focusing on, and frankly have for centuries, well, a lot longer than that, they literally look at it and go, okay, this is what works for people. Why? So they automate the front part of it to extract the cell structure. And then they go about studying first-hand observation, the more intricate side of it. Humans would be well advised to do the same thing. Okay, which is why, like I just put it down and forgot one. There it is. Okay, that tells me what I gotta do. In order to make everything meet. Simon, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Tonight I will be going into full throttle to tie everything off I have to. I have this thing, okay? I'm absolutely psychotic. No, that's not the thing. I've got goals that I would like to meet. And because my brain has been on hold due to stress, I hinted at a little bit ago. Not so much a hint, but a lot of my writing got put on hold. Okay, I look at that. Now, today is the 15th. We've got 15 days left in the month. So that's not a real big complication. It just means I have to get very focused and go, okay, here's what I'm doing. Now, we already know if I do that properly, I've already done the math behind it. Math is a wonderful thing, by the way. What have we got here? Oh, I forgot about that. So the Munchkin's a year old, is she? Well, yeah, she will. I will tell you, and you guys have seen me do it. Family first, then work, then relaxation. Okay. With the Reticulans, they're similar, but they do tend to have, especially the Reticulans, have a tendency of being a little hyper-focused. Okay. Oh, well, goes both my kids now 5. Well, happy birthday to them. Now, this is where I'm going to have to say, hang on, I'll be right back. Because, well, in this case, I ran out of water.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And we are back. You know, that little pop-up you did there in the pop. Yep, there we go. Yeah, there we have Dobby Socks. You know, he's almost becoming a mascot there. You know that. Yeah, the neat little thing. And I mean, we really should. I don't know if Dobby's actually listening, but we really should welcome her to the family. You know, and yes, I do see this community very much like a chosen family, as in you guys are choosing to be here. Okay. And obviously so am I. The fact of the matter is, if it weren't for your guys' input and your guys' support, I wouldn't be doing this at all. But that being said, I am looking and finding ways to streamline it. Much more importantly, I'm looking for ways to actually generate proper income. Yeah. Simon goes, have to get more of the SOR gang to visit while on break. Hopefully they all stay. That would be nice. I mean, let's face it. Dave has done a staggering job. This week we've got, we're dealing with the Reticulans today. Tomorrow we're going to take a look at another fascinating race that literally is not an ancient race, or it's not an off-world race. They are the Arborians. And they're really intriguing. One of the things we have to look at when you're looking at the Reticulans, they cover a staggering size of empire. But you got to remember, they are not a dying race. They are not photocopies. I love the people that tell me, oh, the Greys are abducting humans to replace us and supplant us as the new humans. No, they're not. They're quite happy with their brains. Okay, and realistically, if you own a really good state-of-the-art car, aside from a few of you, would you really trade in your modern car for a Model T Ford where you had to stand in front of it, crank the engine manually to get it to start, and drive it? I think what did it top out at, like 15 miles an hour? Like, really, given a modern car, would you want to downgrade that badly? That's what we're talking about when people say, oh, the Reticulans are trying to supplant mankind and trying to take over their bodies. I believe there was a movie out in the late 50s, early 60s called Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Sorry, guys, the Reticulans are not body snatchers. Although I know some of you have glitches in your bodies. I'm sure you'd be willing to trade off. But that's another issue. One of the big things that we've got, like there's a lot of technology. Matter of fact, I should deal with that. So we take this funny little page. No, can't do that. I have to grab just like a sheet of paper I can work with. Because, my mind goes into a weird place on occasion. There we are. Now, one of the things, the one real big thing, and I think this may be actually, not that off. I think this may actually be a real beneficial difference. In, on Spaced Out Radio, we get a lot of people coming in to ask questions. Okay, makes it kind of unique. Here, I don't get a lot of questions asked, although I don't discourage them by any functional means. I do discourage people that are problematic. And this is why I've got Storm working in the background. Because if we have a problematic child, I don't have to deal with it. And I don't have to make any sort of accusation, any sort of complaint. It's just, Storm, take care of this genius, please. If I have to go that far. Right? If I have to go that far, it's gotten pretty bad. Normally, I never go there. But taking a slight sidetrack, we are going to go into just that neat little book that we're working on, that we've now decided we're going to work on. With the Reticulans, with the Reptilians. It'll have the data, it will have some of the technology on it, and as much of the ecology as we can get away with. Right? I will start putting those together, but priority one is getting that one book finished. Priority two is tying off, and this sounds a little backwards, but it's going to take a lot longer, is tying off Ilderbach, The Return to Paradise. That's going to take a little longer. It's a lot more complicated. So this is what I'll be working on tonight, is figuring out exactly. I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, about streamlining and really pinning down where are the priorities. Now I've asked you guys quite consistently, like, let me ask you this. Where it comes to the Reticulans, very specifically, since that's where we were going today, where it comes to the Reticulans, is there anything you would like to know? I did just think of one thing, so I'm going to go there. Inside this book, I've got some of the technology. Not all of it by any means. Of course, I'm adding to this, so what am I looking at? Second edition is actually the more accurate, the more involved one. There we are. Let's go right back to the top here. And we blow that up a little, I'll be able to actually look at it. Those by Collusions Consortium, who built what? Oh. Listen, the only one that they've got that is specifically theirs is the dextrospandalizer. Now, the triphasic dextrospandalizer is an interesting little piece of equipment. Okay. And this one, because I know he can do data, think this is one of those ones where I'm just going to talk to Nathan directly because I do need somebody that can draw technical. I can't. Okay. Not yet. And certainly not good enough to warrant putting it in print. Not in my eyes, but in all fairness, I took a look at this one movie that was this one cartoon that came out that turned around and did a cartoon on Stick Man. Now, this is why I say, whatever your level of talent is, somebody will buy it. Okay? I'm looking at it going, okay, I desire things to have a little more polished look to them. And that's okay. But it boils down to making time. And right now, the finances are the big thing. And of course, here's the other kicker to it. I got all these contacts off world, and somebody always goes, well, why don't they help you out? Yes, they technically could reprogram a computer, and all of a sudden, like in Ultron, okay, they could tap into the computer and modify it, and all of a sudden I'm a billionaire. I don't think that's going to work that well. But when we're looking at the Reticulans, understand they reached a point where whatever race they were of equal value. Okay, I shouldn't say they never. Millennia back, they had the same problem that humans are having. Okay, now let me ask you this. Do you guys desire to wait another 1,000 years to figure this out? Or how about we get started on it now? And that really boils down to whoever you're walking by in the grocery store, whatever color they are, whatever their skill or their background, say hi, be polite. Thank you very much, Ellie. Ellie's just letting us know we're into the last 30 minutes. Okay, the reality is one of the big inclusion factors to be drawn into the Galactic Consortium and get access to all the new toys is it really was. And Joe goes, that was a creepy movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Watched it recently, the bathtub scene with the mud. Oh, it caused nightmares for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of the horror shows back then, they relied on mood music and good acting. They didn't rely on special effects. And do not get me wrong, I love the special effects in some movies. Okay, and some of them you just couldn't do on screen. By makeup and by acting at the time. Okay, and then you got some of the ones that were just terrifying for a lot of people, not the least of which was the original Exorcist. And yes, guys, the off-worlders and the Reticulans, to be specific, have their own actors. They've got their own movies. Same kind of an idea. Okay, different senses of humor, different things scare them. Now it's comical. One of the biggest differences in Reticulan entertainment fields. Humans take horror shows, and you get this big scary monster making lots of noise, blowing up buildings and what have you. In Reticulan horror shows, you've got a virus or a single cell critter. Or a single cell critter that starts eating somebody from the inside out. Okay. This is where we're looking at differences. LA goes, I had a 5-year-old boy once upon a time. Muddy bathtub doesn't scare me. No, but I will tell you, I saw a pond when it was just covered in fly larvae. And that didn't scare me. But boy, oh boy, did it almost turn my stomach. Reticulans, I do have to figure out where they are. There is, and I will bring these up. I will bring these up one of these days once I find and track it down. There is a group of reticulans that are literally geared towards the creative arts. Okay? And when we're talking creative, we are talking whether it's acting, dancing, singing, doesn't matter. Now it's neat. Okay? One thing you will find is much as they are not specifically told you have to be an athlete, okay, or you're not allowed to be a scientist. The reality of it is they are very careful about who they put up against who in competitions. Okay, you don't put. And I gotta look at that again. I got too many names running through my head. You don't put the Diseases Fluke up against a reticulan up against a Zeta reticulan in a combat fight. You can guarantee, no matter how much training the Zeta reticulan has, they are not physically built for war. Okay, they can certainly go into it in a sport position, but you don't want somebody with no teeth to go into a shark-infested field and see about fighting it. It just doesn't work out well. But we are talking about a race that is completely integrated. Okay, yes, they get taught at the start of their life what humans would call up to kindergarten. They get taught the basics with their own predisposed individuals, because it makes it easier for everybody for them to get the basics if you only have to explain to one person. As they get older and they develop a sense of self, develop a sense of understanding what they're looking for, they find ways themselves and are encouraged. Simon, do they have war now? The answer is absolutely not. The Reticulans are no longer at war with anybody, contrary to Stargate. Okay, but they literally used to kill each other, and the Zeiss Kluke were really dangerous with it. Okay, because they would kill each other over appearance, over skin color. They would kill each other over the way you said hello. Okay, only they didn't kill each other by going, "Oh, we're going to start this big campaign." It was literally one-on-one in the streets. Okay, you did, because unfortunately or fortunately at that time, trying to get a bunch of people to agree to elect one person into a decent seat, didn't work well. Joe goes, of course, still, I absolutely love 1980s horror comedy movies with cemeteries. Figure that one out. Oh, that's easy, Joe. And do take this the way it's intended. You're just on. But that's why we like having you here. Okay, you've got some very diverse interests. And, let's face it, the 1980s horror movies were phenomenal. I am not a researcher, so before anybody asks, I'm not going to start going into deciding which movie was what. at that time, when everybody was watching horror shows, there was a series out called Beyond the Bermuda Triangle. That was where my attention went. That one, and of course, Space 1999. And to be clear, especially at my age, a lot of my attention. Yes, I watched Space 1999 because I liked the whole thing, right? But to be frank, I did find that watching the way that and what the heck was the name? Maya. Watching the way she interacted was intriguing. But when we're looking at the Zetas used to have war, okay, and then they figured out that they were all doing the same thing, and they asked the same question. Ultimately, Simon, they asked a real brilliant question: what are we fighting over? Because you got to remember, when we're talking about the way they're born, two Zeta Reticulans can get together and produce such a wonderful setup. They can, like, let's say they had 6 kids. They can have 6 genetically different kids, as in one beta, one reta, one Zysus Fluke. You could have any race come up, because, like I said, it's the genetic predisposition. Just like your parent, you might have a parent that was military and one that was, that was really agriculturally based. But you give birth to a child that is phenomenally gifted in the sciences. Okay, this shows up in skeletal configuration when they first come out of their eggs. Okay, that's just the way it goes. LA goes, Poltergeist scared me so bad I didn't sleep for 3 weeks. And yet, Poltergeist got my attention so well, I had no problem sleeping after it. Of course, I grew up knowing where the Poltergeists were. So I was like, hey, I want to have one like that. Simon goes, Keith, are the Reticulans throughout the universe, throughout our universe alone, or also other dimensions? Well, we'll eliminate that one. Absolutely, they are throughout our universe. Okay, but not our universe alone. As far as are they from different dimensions? No. Just no. Understand, and this might be a hiccup on my part. Everything you can see in the third dimension is third dimensional. Some of them will actually vibrate. Some species can vibrate, can vibrate fast enough to vanish from sight. They can vanish from sight, but they're still in the third dimension. Take a look at a propeller. When it starts moving, you can see it easy, but as it picks up speed, you lose track. And the fact of the matter is, Simon, the reason I like questions like that is because so many people in the background, so many people listening, don't ask. Okay. And unfortunately, a lot of it is just plain simple to me. So I don't think about the question. So absolutely keep the questions coming. I don't have a problem with it. With the Reticulans, they figured out that literally they were all working on the same thing. When they got past the race wars, okay, which in case you hadn't noticed, humans are still acting on. And that is a critical factor that humans must take to heart. You desire to make contact with these guys en masse, you guys got to realize that every race on this planet, if it's human, they are viable. They are part of the bigger picture. And that's where we have to look at things in a real clear-cut fashion. So what I'm doing at this point, it's amazing. It's not like I didn't have enough work to do. But when we look at the Reticulans, understand they are here, and their primary focus on being here is research. Oh, Simon, who stops them is there's a conglomeration of them. They're called the Galactic Consortium. And it's not just humans they're not allowed to interfere with. It's any developing race. And what the consortium does is they've essentially got what people have likened to the Prime Directive in Star Trek. Okay, you do not interfere with the evolving race. The race that is the dominant, surface-dwelling, technologically advanced race are the caretakers of the planet. So as long as the planet is intact and is not in danger, the dominant race is left to fend for themselves, left to sort out their own wars. The consortium will not hand out high-tech weaponry. Okay? They do not hand out high-tech transportation because humans have this brilliant idea. If it exists, we can turn it into a weapon. You got to remember, humans on the whole are nomadic and violent. And you can argue the point all you like. There's not a problem. I know, Simon, the abductions are primarily because of the hybridization program. The triple DNA, the triple helix of the human genome makes the human absolutely brilliant for developing hybrids. Okay, now the hybrids are simple, and I've said this to people before. The Reticulans themselves developed it because it was it is well known. Cultural comprehension is caught in the DNA. The triple helix of the humans makes them very compatible with a little bit less tweaking to make cultural interpreters. Now, the fact is, the hybridization program is this. You can take a computer, you can program 2 languages into it, and do a word-for-word swap. You will not get the hidden meaning behind it. With growing the hybrids, they grow up understanding instinctively both cultures. Then they're taught both languages. Now you've got somebody that not only can speak both languages, but thinks in both fashions. Okay, so that's how that fits in. Okay, because the reality is, this is not, contrary to popular belief, this is not a game preserve. Nobody was seated here from anywhere, not from everything I've seen. And I know there's a lot of people that'll argue the point. Oh, we've got proof. Really? What I've seen are the proof that people have shown me, and you're more than welcome there, Simon. The proof that people keep talking about having when they show it to me, I'm looking at it going, okay, what you've got is proof that you've got something you don't understand. It's that simple. The triple DNA. Okay, humans consider most of the scientists look at the triple helix and go, that's a whole pile of junk DNA. What does that mean? It means they don't understand what it is. Same thing applies with much of what's going on. Humans are not as advanced as they'd like to think, but they do have the propensity to solve things almost seemingly by accident. So now what we're looking at with the Reticulans, the Zetas are here to do the hybridization program. Ratas are here to take a look at the various agricultural items. Because again, thank you, Ali. Again, we are dealing with triple helix on Earth. This makes them very compatible for transplanting and for developing new food sources, especially when they're developing with the outlying communities of the consortium that are having food problems. Okay, Earth has some phenomenally resilient plants. Okay, and what the reticulans are working on is trying to figure out how to adjust them or simply take them and transplant them onto another world. Okay, one that is already lacking. This is so that's what the raiders are into, are looking into, are looking at. And of course, these ones, where are we here? Diseases, not diseases. Yes, the clan, just read that wrong. Wrote it wrong, but the the spiritualists are literally here to watch what Earth religions are evolving like. And rest assured, the purpose of religion went really sideways on Reticula. Okay, they have literally when we talk about having one religion, they do. Okay, I believe anyway. Let me just double check because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth altogether. All the way to the back here. Of course, this is the first printing, so it won't be written in the same place. There we are. Got a fan going here so I don't overheat. There we go. Yeah, I was right. With the Reticulans, they have only literally one religion. Okay, there is no segregation. They do not have multiple denominations. They have one religion, one denomination. You either believe in it or you don't. And 99% of them believe in it. There are those that are still sitting there going, well, can you prove his existence? And their usual comment is, we don't have to, but can you prove he doesn't exist? In their case, they refer to their God as Source. Okay, many humans refer to the God here as Source, but they don't go with prove he exists. The ones that believe he exists simply go prove he doesn't. If you can't, then we're working this way. But again, this is just one of those funny little things where you've got to look at what the Raiders did, and they did it millennia back. Okay, they are literally spread throughout both that I'm aware of, and I think there's another one. Matter of fact, I know there's another one. They are literally spread out over the Milky Way, over what we call the Milky Way. Oh, that's easy, Simon. The Reticulans have been very clear with me. One thing, because they said it worked for them. Okay, get along with each other. Never mind with any of the off-worlders. Quit looking off-world for a solution, because they already tried that. Okay, the consortium already brought some of the healing techniques to this planet, and they were sidetracked. And people can argue the point. They can say, "Where's the proof?" Good luck. You figure that one out. But I know, based on what I've seen, the ones I've talked to, they already tried bringing a lot of the healing techniques to Earth, not the healing equipment, okay, but the understanding of it, okay. Unfortunately, humans being violent and greedy did not turn over as they were supposed to. Net result, the Reticulans went, okay, hopefully you guys will figure it out before you blow yourselves all back to the Stone Age. Okay, but then they look at it and going, well, if they do that, that gives us a whole pile more time to research. Because understand, these guys have been hanging around since mankind was in caves. And if you don't believe mankind was in caves, that's no problem. But if you don't believe that mankind lived in caves centuries back, okay, or more to the point, millennia back, please tell me who turned around and went in and drew all the cave art. You know, oh, that's where you're mistaken there, Valerie. Valerie goes, my DNA is no good to them on my test. I'm missing a mutation. You know, here's the thing. That missing mutation and the fact you still function is of the utmost interest to some of them. Don't worry about that. Doesn't mean you're going to get abducted tomorrow. It just means that scientists, if they're true scientists, will look at a missing thing and go, hey, there's another question I've got to understand. Rest assured, the Zetas are, you swear they were, and that they were, OCD where it comes to solving things. Because humans are so easy to repair, comparatively, it gives them the opportunity when they find somebody with offset DNA, gives them the opportunity to compare that and see how it compares to other races and maybe find a link. But one of the things we have to remember, these guys, the scientists, are just that. They're here for the science, not the money. And unfortunately, so many scientists in this world have opted to get out of the actual science side of it in order to get new endorsements and new Maserati or whatever is the going car right now. Okay, the Zeta Reticulans are pure science. They simply live on one philosophy. That is, they don't know it all yet, but they desire to. Kind of like the Sarkon. They look at all of reality and go, we don't control it all yet, but we desire to. And then again we have Joe Stewart in the chat room here going, I'm not perfect, but I desire to be. As he puts it, I'm not perfect, but I'm doing my best. Oddly enough, LA, oh, yeah, I was misreading that. More than likely. That's the silly part. If you desire your education system to work better, don't throw your students into so much debt that they can't focus on study. This is one of the things that I think it's the communist nations that actually pay the education. Mind you, they also, from what I gather, go, you're going to be an agriculturalist. You're going into sewage treatment. So you don't have the free choice. But I will tell you, if you really want to help things, as a society, people have to realize driving people into thousands of dollars of debt before they graduate is a bad way to encourage them, in case you hadn't noticed. Now, with that in mind, guys, I see we are down to the last 5 here. I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we go into an ancient race, not an off-world. Okay. Tomorrow we're going to be dealing with the Arborians. But bearing in mind we're hitting the 5 here, I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us. Really appreciate it. And the questions have been great. Simon, absolutely bring the questions with you. Many people are looking for the questions, for answers to those questions. I don't necessarily think about the fact they aren't there. Okay. And a special hats off to Storm in the background there for taking care of another, shall we say, challenged individual. This is going to remain a safe place for everybody. as long as I can make it, as long as I can keep doing that. But I am now turning around. Tonight I start looking at the advertising side of things. I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.